Good evening. I'm Courtney Bryant with Steve Savard. We begin with the new charges against the man already indicted in the brutal killing of a local girl.
Tonight, Earl Cox is charged with sodomy, accused of molesting another young girl decades ago. The new indictment follows the murder charge in Angie Housman's 1993 death. News 4's Kim St. Ange is following the developments tonight.
And we are at the St. Louis airport tonight because sources are indicating that suspect, Earl Cox, could be landing right here at the airport tonight. So we're talking about just a couple of hours. Remember, he's been spending time in North Carolina in this federal prison on unrelated charges. So crews are extraditing him back to St. Louis. We've been checking. So far, no sight of him. But again, there is a good chance that he could be back here in St. Louis tonight. Once he leaves the airport, he'd head straight to St. Charles County Jail. And with tonight's new charges, that also means he'll eventually be dealing with St. Louis County. Here's the new court document charging 61-year-old Earl Cox with 2 counts of sodomy. We're choosing to blur some of it because it's so graphic. But in the details, prosecutors say they have evidence Cox molested a girl between 1987 and 1991.
Investigators went to this individual, this victim who was out of state, and I'm not giving I'm avoiding giving specific information at this point intentionally, but they spoke with the person, with this individual.
St. Louis County Prosecutor Wesley Bell wouldn't answer most of my questions today, including how and when this new information came to light, or if Cox and the child knew each other, citing privacy reasons.
I don't want to be evasive. The thing is, the more information I give, the more likely that someone can connect dots to figure out who this victim is, who the victim is.
These sodomy charges come just 3 weeks after St. Charles County Prosecutor Tim Lomar announced Cox was charged with Angie Housman's death. The 9-year-old was kidnapped from her St. Anne bus stop in 1993, raped and murdered.
She was malnourished and she was alive when she was left out in the woods to die. That leads us to believe that she was being held somewhere without food, without nourishment, and she was being tortured.
News 4 spoke with Angie's stepdad, Ron Bone, right after Cox was charged.
Fantastic, they found the guy, but I heard that they ruined me out. I don't have nothing to do with this, and people that know me know that I have nothing to do with this.
Police say they aren't ruling him or others out as a possible suspect in Angie's death. And the St. Louis County prosecutor tells me even more charges against Cox could be coming. Cox has a long history with sex abuse allegations involving young children. We're talking about these dating all the way back to the early 1980s. And one of those cases involves these 2 7-year-old girls from Overland back in 1989. He was charged at that time, but those were later dropped. Live from the St. Louis airport, Kim St. Ange, News 4.